Hello and welcome back to Viper Bites, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. You're looking for that one-stop shop for all your fantasy football needs? Head to fantasypoints.com, enter promo code Vipers22, and we'll get you 10% off that subscription today. While you're subscribing, make sure to take a second, subscribe to the Vipers Network here on YouTube. Give us that thumbs up, smash that notifications button because we got plenty of more content coming at you very soon. And if you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever that podcasting platform may be, take a moment, rate and review this show. Now let's get into this. We are talking about the top 5 Dynasty fantasy assets right now for all 32 teams. And now we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, starting off with wide receiver Deandre Hopkins, who right now, according to the experts' consensus, is going off as wide receiver 34 and the overall 75th player selected. Now, did I mention that DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss the first 6 games of the 2022 season? Last season was not good for the former All-Pro wide receiver, catching just 42 passes for 572 yards. But Hopkins, he did finish with 8 touchdowns in just 10 contests while averaging 14.5 fantasy points per game. Hopkins never seemed right, though. When he was in the lineup, it seemed like he was battling nagging injury after nagging injury. So perhaps an extended rest here will do him wonders. And when he returns, he will be able to produce opposite of Marquis Hollywood Brown as defenses try to identify where the bigger threat is coming from in this Cardinals passing attack. Now, Hopkins is still that guy, the one that's still good for 1,000 yards in 5 of the last 6 seasons prior to last year. The one guy who was on a 3-season streak of 100-plus receptions before injuries left him 58 short in 2021. Hopkins is currently a hold on your fantasy rosters, but once he's back, you can expect him to average close to the 19 fantasy points in which he was kind of getting there when he was in that lineup. Then, and only then, is the time to make your move to maybe get a little bit of that return of investment on DeAndre Hopkins. Now, another guy who's a little bit older in the tooth, but still a wily vet who can still give you some good, solid fantasy production is Zach Ertz. He is 31 years of age, and Arizona, they may or may not have already drafted his eventual replacement in Trey McBride. It really must feel like Philadelphia all over again for Ertz. So why does he still make this list for top 5 fantasy assets? Well, despite playing part of the season last year with Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia and then coming over and learning a new offense in Arizona, Ertz finished with a 19% target share, hauling in 74 of 112 targets. I like to evaluate my dynasty assets in 3-year window periods, right? And this is maybe the last year that allows you to move on from Zach Ertz and get receive some fair compensation for him. With DeAndre Hopkins set to miss those first 6 games, that will give fantasy managers the best return of investment window they could possibly ask for right now. When Hopkins missed the final 4 weeks last year, Ertz had a 24% target share and caught 28 passes to finish as the tight end 4 in that small window. Now, looking at the running backs, another wily vet here, James Conner, currently as the RB26 in Dynasty, overall 68th player selected. Conner has never been a PPR type back. That's never been his game. That's never been his style. But what you do have, he's got that nose for the end zone. And it's just a matter of time before they give him the ball in the 5 and he runs that thing right in there. In 2021, Conner averaged 17.2 fantasy points per game despite rushing for only 735 yards. He did, however, add 37 receptions for 375 yards and 18 total touchdowns. Yes, I said that right. 18 total touchdowns. At 27 years of age, Conner still has a little more left in the tank, as 3 of his previous 4 seasons, he has finished with 900 yards from scrimmage. Of backs with more than 200 carries, Conner's 72.4 elusive rating had him inside the top 5. We should know better than to count out Conner, whose ADP last season was RB37, and all he did was finish as the RB5. In this offense, there is opportunity right now for Conner, and that 3-year window gives him plenty of opportunities. Now, talking about some younger players here, Marquis Hollywood Brown, still going off the board as the 32nd best wide receiver in Dynasty, overall 70th player. Look, that's way too low. Will Brown see another season like he saw last year with 146 targets, a 23.7% target share? Who knows? But early on in 2022, he should, as DeAndre Hopkins, I mentioned that 6-game suspension. he's going to have those opportunities. But when Hopkins returns, along with Ertz, it's going to be more about the efficiency than the volume for Hollywood Brown. One thing Brown has on his side is time. Hopkins is now 30 years of age. He's battled through some injuries the past couple seasons. Ertz, I said, is 31 years of age. So you have to believe that Brown will end up being the top option sooner than later in this Arizona Cardinals offense. Looking back to last season, weeks 1 to 10, with Lamar Jackson healthy and under center, Brown would average 17.8 fantasy points per game, which had him as the wide receiver 6. It's easy to look at that and believe that whatever Jackson was doing, Murray should be able to replicate similar success with an old acquaintance. And speaking of Kyler Murray, QB6 in Dynasty, overall 57 players selected here. Last season, despite playing in less than 15 games, Murray still finished as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, averaging the fourth most fantasy points per game, 22.18. Perhaps the only thing holding Murray back is himself. Looking at the last 3 seasons, there is a noticeable difference in how he started the season compared to how he had finished the season off. If Murray could find some consistency from start to finish, then finishing inside the top 3 at the quarterback position for this upcoming season and beyond is very much plausible. With the addition of Murray's former deep threat there at Oklahoma in Marquis Hollywood Brown, you can expect the Cardinals to dial up the long ball early and often. Combine Marquise Brown's speed with Murray's 46.7% completion percentage on deep balls, 20-plus yards down the field there. Fantasy numbers are sure to add up. And again, you want your fantasy numbers to add up? Head to fantasypoints.com, enter that promo code Vipers22, and get yourself 10% off that subscription today. See you next time.